Hello everybody and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel. Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. And without further ado guys, as the title suggested, in this video I'm going to cover 5 products that are worth exporting towards Morocco. And as usual, I've prepared here an Excel file in order to see who are the main trading partners, so we will have access to some of the values, and where possible I will try to give you a couple of examples in order to pinpoint the exact drivers. So without anything else to add here guys, I will start with the first product that I recommend, which is cotton yarn other than sewing thread, so chapter 52 heading 5. As Morocco is a regional hub in terms of apparel exports both for North Africa and Europe, so it needs of course a lot of inputs related to this activity. And we see that for 2020 the overall imports were down some 24% compared with the previous year, bringing the absolute imported value to some $62.7 million, with the United States, India and Turkey as the main suppliers. But of course there are other important ones in this top 10 list, like, I don't know, Uzbekistan, another big cotton exporter, Pakistan or China, just to name a few. In terms of trend and considering the 2016-2020 time frame here, it's moving downwards, but my personal guess is that, I don't know, the small and medium companies in Europe active in the apparel business will reconsider China and Southeast Asia in terms of manufacturing, sourcing, and most probably they will close, I don't know, new deals and or, I don't know, invest more in Morocco in the years to come, given the current supply chain disruptions, the current freight rates. So even though the last 5 years had a downward movement, let's say, I think that from 2021 and onwards, we will see values closer to those from 2017 or 2018, when Morocco's imports were at their peak. Now, relative to the year-on-year changes, and again, limiting myself to these top 10 partners, the split is 50-50, with 5 countries having less exported values towards Morocco, while the other 5 having positive changes ranging from, I don't know, 9% as in the case with France to 63% as in the case with Portugal, for example. Even though in terms of absolute value we're speaking about a couple of $100,000. And relative to the main drivers here, we're having HS code 520523, so single cotton yarn of combed fibers containing no less than 85% cotton by weight for both India and Turkey. Now, moving on to my second recommendation, which is coming from chapter 47, heading 3, so chemical wood pulp. Here we see how the number of supplying countries is relatively limited, let's say. And in fact, I think that these are the main wood pulp exporters in the world, and we see countries like, I don't know, the United States, Finland, Sweden, or Brazil as the main suppliers here for Morocco, which in 2020 imported with almost 50% less than the previous year, amounting to some $25.1 million in absolute terms. Most probably because this input needed for products like paper, paperboard, or hygiene and absorbent products was also heavily influenced by the uncertainties of 2020. Thus, we see here these industrial users in Morocco importing less in 2020. In terms of year-on-year changes, except with Sweden, who exported some 22% more, with the rest of the trading partners, we have big contractions ranging from somewhere around 7% to maybe a complete stop, as in the case here with Brazil. And relative to the import drivers here for both the United States and Sweden, we have HS code 470321. And guys, with the second product being covered, I will now move on to my third one, which is related to milk and cream. So we have HS code 0402, and here we see that the countries from which Morocco is importing are more numerous if we compare it with the other chapter. Although, if you ask me, they are quite clustered in Europe, except maybe the United States in this top 10 list. And basically for 2020, the imports were up 21.4% from 2019, bringing the total imported value to some $21.7 million. And we have here France, the Netherlands, and Spain as the main suppliers. But of course, there are others like Ireland, Belgium, or Lithuania, again, just to name a few from this top 10 list. Relative to the trend, we see a nice upward one, except maybe for 2019 when the value shrunk. But given all this, I think that there is a place to grow here, especially for the exporters based in Netherlands and Poland, who could fight the French ones in terms of price. Relative to the year-on-year changes, except with Ireland and Poland, who had negative changes, with the rest of the top 10 partners, we have positive ones ranging from almost 2% to some 151%, as in the case here with Lithuania. Even though now, in terms of absolute value, let's be honest, the increase is insignificant considering the overall cumulative imports. As for the main drivers for this subchapter, there is no big diversity, and we have HS code 040210 driving most of the exports towards Morocco for both France and Ireland. Now guys, moving on to my fourth recommendation. Here we have chapter 39, heading 26, so articles of plastics. And for 2020, Morocco's imports amounted to some $263.6 million, down almost 6% from the previous year. And we have here France, Spain, and China as the main suppliers. But there are other important ones like, I don't know, Italy, Turkey, the United States, or Hungary, again, just to name a few from this top 10 list. And relative to the trend here, from 2016 onwards, we're having some 10% on average increase in terms of imported value. So quite a good performance. And my guess is that from 2021 onwards, the growth will have had resumed, and we're talking here about articles of plastics used mostly for industrial or, I don't know, infrastructure purposes or projects. And in terms of year-on-year changes, we have again a 50-50 split, if you want, between positive and negative changes, with Germany having the biggest negative absolute value change of around $6 billion here. While on the other hand, Hungary had the biggest positive value change of around $1.4 million. And relative to Morocco's main import drivers, again, we don't have much diversity, let's say, and for both Spain and the United States, we have HS code 392690. And guys, bear with me a little bit longer as I will now move on to my fifth and last recommendation, coming from chapter 23, heading 9, so preparations of a kind used in animal feeding. And here we see again a large number of supplying countries, with France, Spain, and Germany leading the way. But again, we see other important partners like the United States, China, or Bulgaria, again, just to name a few. Relative to the imported value trend, this is going upwards, and my guess is that the Moroccan market didn't arrive momentarily at the plateau. So I don't know, for the next 3 to 5 years, I think that we will see some single-digit relative increases, most probably in the lower end of the spectrum, maybe 3 to 5% each year. While in terms of year-on-year changes, 2020 was a good year for almost all the top 10 partners, except maybe the United States here, who had some, I don't know, 12% contraction. But on the other hand, the gainers, considering again the absolute value, of course, are France, which is a long-lasting traditional partner of Morocco with strong cultural and social ties. And we have another gainer, if you ask me, which is Germany, as both had their exports towards Morocco increased with some $4 million each in 2020. As for the main import drivers, again, not that much diversity here, and we have HS code 230990, so preparations of a kind used in animal feeding. So guys, with this last product recommendation being also covered, this is all for today. I hope you've liked it, at least partially. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe buttons. And as usual, until next time, keep your breathing safe. Thanks.